So now we're going to take one of our first pretty serious steps, and by that I mean we're going to put together something that is a large part of the machine. It's a really important part of the machine, and also there's a bit of a fun on this step because it's finally kind of a recognizable part of the machine. You can really tell what it is you've been working on. What we're going to be doing is tacking together the basket, which is the clear part at the front of the machine that holds all of the food for the corvids. So we need to round up some parts for that. And from your clear sheet, you'll need this kind of crab shaped, I don't know, it looks like crab to me, but front of the basket, and then this part here, which is the floor of the basket. And you can kind of spot this one easily because it has some triangle shaped cutouts along the edges. Those function as drains. If water were to accidentally get into the basket, that would let it drain out. But you can also be sure you have the right part because it matches up with the tabs on the front of the basket. We also need what we call the inner cheeks of the basket, which are these parts here. And they're kind of distinctive for having a longer than usual tab, and also for having a little angular cutout, a little chamfer at the front edge there. I will point out that there's a similar set of outer cheeks, but these are, as you can see, quite a bit larger. So what you want is the pair of smaller cheeks. Now, the kind of interesting thing about the way we're going to put the basket together is that we're going to use the front faceplate of the machine to give us the correct shape. But I'm going to stress this now, and I'll probably repeat a bunch of times. Do not cement any of your clear parts to this solid colored part yet. We're going to do that later. Right now we're just going to use the network of slots in the front of this to give ourselves the correct shape for our basket. And it is a little bit strange how we're going to do this, but also dig through your solid parts and find one of these side panels, and you'll know it because it has tabs cut out on three sides, or slots rather, cut on three sides, and also has two holes in one corner. So what you'll want to do to get set up is organize that piece lengthwise like this away from you, and then lower the machine faceplate down until this horizontal slot here, the narrow one, is hanging out over nothingness. And the reason that we're doing this is that the basket parts have longer than usual tabs. This tab is twice as long as the thickness of the acrylic. So we want to make sure that it can come to rest in that slot fully, which is why we are suspending our machine faceplate a little higher by placing it temporarily on this side piece. It is also important to make sure that this vertical slot here, which is the second slot in from the outside, and this one, which is the second slot in from the outside on this side, are clear, free. So what we're going to do, I'm going to show you how we're going to dry fit this first, just so we know how everything fits together, is with the tabs facing me on both the cheek and on the floor. I'm going to put the cheeks onto the basket floor like this, and then lower them into the slots that they fit. So you can see how the cheeks tabs go into that slot, and the basket floor goes into that long horizontal slot at the bottom. And again, we are not going to cement any of these clear pieces to any of these solid pieces. We are only cementing the clear pieces to themselves. So once we cement the cheeks and the floor together and have them into the slots where they're eventually going to live, that gives us the correct shape. We'll also be lowering and cementing the basket's faceplate on. And then we'll put this aside to dry like this. Later, we're going to come back and we're going to remove the basket like this once it's cemented together from the faceplate altogether and do some reinforcing on it. And then the basket will remain on its own until later on in the process, and we'll get it cemented to the faceplate. But again, remember, we're only cementing clear to clear right now, not any clear to solid. In fact, don't put cement on any of these solid colored parts. And I think I won't repeat that any longer. That's enough times to probably drive you nuts. Another thing to keep in mind as we cement these is that we don't want cement to clog these triangle shaped cutouts that we have along the edges of the basket floor, as those are drains. So we're going to only use a little bit of cement on this job. It's just going to be to tack these parts together and make them into one part. Later we're going to apply a lot of cement to this to reinforce it, but not at this point. Right now we're just trying to get everything together and to be the right shape. So the way that I like to do this is to apply the cement to just the inside edge between these tabs on either side of the floor. I'll just put some cement here and here and here and here, and that'll be enough to tack it together when we put the cheek onto the floor that way. So we'll do that first. We'll get the two cheeks installed, and then we'll slot the cheek and floor assembly into the faceplate, and then we'll get the basket's face on. So, excuse me, and keep in mind that the correct way to insert the basket floor is with the one single wide tab into this slot here on the face of the machine. The side with two tabs is going to be facing upwards in this case, so that we can put the basket's faceplate on. So let's get going. I'm going to put cement here. And here, avoiding that triangle shaped cutout. Turn this just over in my hand. Put cement on this edge, and stay away from that triangle. Okay. Now take this single tab downward, and this cheek with this tab in the corner downward. Put the cheek onto the floor. This single tab downward. Cheek on the floor on that side, and then just carefully let everything into its correct slots. So by only cementing the center of the cheeks the way we did, we eliminate the risk that we're going to squish any cement out of these joints and onto the solid colored plastic, which we definitely don't want. So we're just going to use that minimum amount of cement for now. So now I'm going to avoid these the tabs that are sticking up and just put cement on a little bead of cement on all the low points in between tabs. It's safe to use a little bit more here than we did on the cheeks because we're not going to risk squishing cement out onto solid plastic. There, and with that cement applied, just bring the faceplate into position, lower it. Now, I want to use a little bit of pressure to make sure that all these edges contact, but I don't want to put too much stress on these solid parts beneath because they're not supported terribly well. So just a little bit of pressure, push the faceplate down, and then I'm going to secure that with my thumbs and just push the cheeks toward it gently with my fingertips, and then I'm going to use my fingertips to support the top and then just push the floor away from myself a little bit with my thumbs. So now we have the cement on here and the basket parts sort of tacked together. We want to give this about 10 minutes for the cement to set up just to its fixture point. And then what we'll do is we'll lift it away from the plastic parts beneath it and set it aside so that it can dry on its own. And then we'll come back later and do a bunch of reinforcing on this with additional cement. So for now, I think it's a good time to take a break. I don't like to move this from where it is just because it's slotted into another part and it has a part underneath it. So just take a 10-minute break and come back. Okay, so now I've had a nice 10-minute break and I'm ready to move my basket away. So I'm just going to gently lift it out of where it is, and I'm going to keep this surface that's facing upright right now. I'm going to let that continue to face upright, and I'm just going to move this aside and set it elsewhere and let that continue to dry. And then these parts here, I'm just going to return to where I got them because we don't need them right now. We were just borrowing them. And that's the end of getting the basket tacked together. We'll see the basket again later, and we'll do some reinforcing, but for now we're going to move on to some other parts.